Okay, in this video, I will explain the solution to tutorial 2.2, which was about object-oriented programming and string manipulation in Dart. So this tutorial was the one that you were doing in the last meeting. Okay, so I have provided you the spec here. Basically, you want to from this tutorial what you want to uh, learn from this tutorial is about how you write OOP using Dart programming language. So I'm not going to walk through the question. I hope you already uh, read the question during your session last time during your collaborative coding session. So let's straight away jump into the code. So first of all, I already opened my VS Code here. So first I'm going to show you how to define class person. So let's take a look. Okay, class person, as you can see here, it basically follows like C++ and Java. Okay, but you don't have to put semicolon for declaration. Okay, then you are familiar with the concept of public and private member. Okay, by default in Dart, if you don't by default all members in Dart are public. Okay, so in our case we want to make name as private. So the way you want to do it is basically, first of all, I need to declare the type. Okay, if I write in this way, that means it is a public. Okay, by default it is a public member. The only way the way you want to make it a private, you simply write the underscore in as the first character, okay, for the name. Okay, this is how you do it in Dart. Okay, you don't have to explicitly write the keyword like the one you're familiar with in Java and C++, whereby you need to write private or public. Okay, then what else? You familiar with the concept of getter and setter, right? So you can write like the one you familiar with Java or C, okay, like get name. You write something like this, get name, and then you simply return name. Okay, this is correct. This is acceptable in Dart. Okay, because uh, that provides several ways of doing the same thing. Okay, so but I'm not recommend you to use something like this. Okay, because that has provided dedicated syntax for the getters and the setters. So I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to replace that with the dedicated one. You need to use the keyword get. Okay, and then I can use what is the name of the getter. So in C++, you most likely, or Java, you most likely writing something like this. Okay, the name, the convention you are normally use is by prefix the name with get. Okay, however in Dart, you you uh you 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 want to use noun. Okay, because uh the get is basically already here. Okay, but this is not part of the identifier, but this is the keyword to and then you don't have to put parentheses. Okay, you simply write the, you simply write the body. Okay, again, make sure you don't put parentheses. If you write parentheses, that means you actually try to do the normal way, the normal style you familiar with in Java and C++, which is also supported in that. But as I mentioned just now, it is better to use uh, the that style because I think it is more concise. You don't have provide, and then again, this one, if you can recall from my lecture slide, there is a shorthand for this. Okay, if you have this kind of syntax, okay, you have a written name, this can be simplified with this shorthand. So this means written name. Okay, okay, again, that one is a getter, and then I want to create my setter. Okay, of course the getter, you don't put underscore here because you must make sure the getter to be public, because later on you want to expose this to the caller, right? Okay, the same goes to setter. The setter is, there is a dedicated keyword set, and then you want to make sure the name must be the same. If you have get with name, the set must use the same name. Okay. By the way, let's take a look how you do it in Java. You again, you are going to do it something like this: set name Java or C++. Okay, and then you provide what is it? You provide uh, the name. Let's say we call it name, and then you do it. This is an attribute equal to, this is a parameter. Okay, to reduce confusion here, let me change the name. Or if you do it in Java, okay, again, it's the same. Let's say if you want to use the same name, okay, normally you will be doing it something like that. You need to provide this to differentiate between attributes and parameters. Okay, you must assign attribute with parameters, not the other way around. Okay, so this is the common syntax you familiar with in Java and C++. But again, there is a dedicated syntax in Dart, whereby it is set, and then we use name, and then you need to provide here and, okay, and since this is only one line, you can use name equal to name. Sorry, it's not name but name. Okay, again, this is actually whatever you can change this to whatever you like. Okay, so I can be more explicit by specifying the name. Okay, as you can, if you can recall, because that supports dynamic type. So that means if you don't specify the type, you will ask that to infer the type for you. But if you want to be more explicit, then you can specify the name, okay, in the declaration. So this is the getter and setter. Okay, now again, we also need to specify, or we need to define the constructor. So how to do constructor? Okay, how to do constructor in Dart? Okay, it follow the same, some of the feature from, or some of characteristic from Java and C++. The name, or for a constructor, the function name must be the same as the class name. Okay, so let's take a look how you do it in C++. This is actually the one you familiar with. Let's call it string name, and or this is you are familiar with, something like this, right? And then you can write this name equal to name. Okay, So make sure you are assigning an attribute. Okay, this dot name is an attribute, which is this one. And then the right hand side is basically the parameter it is coming from here. You don't want to do it the other way around. Okay, so this is the one that you are familiar with from C++ and also in Java. So however, in that that's provide a shorthand for this. Okay, I will show you. Okay, so I can simply copy this. Let me get rid of this. Okay, so basically just now what the code we write. I think let me open this and then I comment this out. This line, the following lines, line 9 to 10, we can write in this way. Simply this dot name. Okay, the meaning is the same. This one line actually is doing for line 10 to 12. Okay, and then there is no concept overloaded in that. Okay, however, that try to serve for the purpose of overloading by having what we call constructor name, name constructor. So for example, let's say you want to create a person without let's say the by default the name is Abu. Okay, so let's call it let's say we call it person let's say the person Abu. No, another one. Yeah, let's uh fix name. Okay, so you do it by calling to, okay, the name is Abu. My point here is that it's not about this one, but how you write how you can achieve multiple constructor for the same class. Okay, there is no concept overloaded constructor in that, but it has a name constructor. Okay, so fix basically another constructor. This is the common constructor, then this is another constructor, and then again constructor initializer. I think we can replace this. Okay, let's say this the just to show you a variety of ways doing constructor, writing constructor in that. Fix, let's say let's try this out. Okay, let's say I'm not going to use this, so I want to use constructor initializer. So this one is supposed to be, I can do it something like this one. Yeah, this is also correct. Oh, I believe, yeah, you can also actually, let's say this one, this is we call this constructor initializer. Okay, this is the same what you're familiar with in C++, I believe also in Java. Okay, let's say you want to use fix, but as you can see here, this is actually duplicate code, right? This is not dry code because the purpose of specifying the name has been done by the first constructor here. So let's say okay, you can also do it something like this, which is okay. So you reuse the first constructor, this one. Okay, yeah, you are familiar with this from C++ or Java, in which there is a concept of overloaded constructor, but the name constructor serve the same purpose. Okay, which is to provide different ways to use your or to create objects from the same class with different ways. Okay, different ways here means by specifying with different parameters, number of parameters and so on. Okay, so but in our case we are going to use only the first one. Okay, so I think we're done with the person. What we need to have in person only this one. Okay, only the name, because class person the class person is there only to provide the best class for student. Okay, now we move on to the class uh, result. Okay, the class result is basically a mixin. Okay, a mixin is okay, let me, if I can if I can, yeah, this one. Okay, so a mixin is basically just a class. It's a class with limited features. So it's a class, but you cannot create instance from the class. Okay, so that means you cannot provide a constructor, and you cannot it cannot have parent, also classes, also child class. So the idea of mixing is basically just to provide a blueprint, so that later on someone or some other classes will consume it. Okay, the it is actually to serve as just encapsulation. Okay, you create the blueprint in a class, but later on you are not going to create objects from this class. But the idea of having mixing is actually just to provide the data structure, okay, to assist other classes, okay, to be mixed in with other classes. Okay, so you can think of mixing as regular class, whereby it has, you can provide the uh, attributes and also the method. However, it exists not because for objects, but it's only to provide data structure. Okay, because later on you cannot create an object or an instance from the class. So let's go back here. Okay, so basically you can create a mixin by using regular keyword class, but you want to make sure you don't provide constructor inside the class. Okay, uh, however, that provide a dedicated keyword for mixing, so we are going to call it like a result. Okay, result, and then here what this need to support, what the results should have is score. Okay, here again, as you can see here, I don't use private. Okay, I don't use private because uh, uh, just for simplicity for this exercise, I don't use private here. So if I want to make sure score as a private, then I need to put the underscore here. Then when I make it as a private, something like that, then I also need to supply or to provide the definition for getter and setter, something like the one that we did just now for class person. But here I purposely use public, so just for simplicity of this exercise. Okay, then what we need to provide. Okay, so in this case I don't have to provide the getter and setter, because you can access directly score from the outside, because it's a public member. Okay, but we need to provide uh, uh, the grade, how to convert grade from scores. Okay, so again, this is because grade is basically you have input score, input is score, and then from score you get output the grade, right? So if, okay, let us write this in C style or C++ style. Okay, so the letter grade is a string. Okay, there is no char. It is always string in that all although it is a character in C, the one that you familiar in C++, a character, there is a character, there is string. But in that, if it is a character, you declare it as a string. Okay, so string, let's say you call it like get grade, okay, or you might be like grade, okay, and then of course you don't have to specify score here, right? Because the score is already inside the class. Okay, this is the object oriented. Yeah, we are writing in object oriented, not in procedural programming. Then inside here, then we can start to our selection. If score greater than, okay, I write the logic in a simplified version, then we return A, right? So I can use my copy and pasting by pressing shift alternate. It's not copy and pasting basically, but duplicate the line. Okay, I simply replace all the variable here. So this one is supposed to be B, B, C, D. Otherwise, it is always return E. Okay. So this is the one that you are familiar in Java and C. In fact, this is actually also correct or valid in that. Okay. We actually are done for getting the grade. Okay, but of course we want to write in, try to make it more explicit or make it more dot style. So in fact, as you can see here, this is actually a kind of getter, right? It is a getter, okay, because a getter is a method whereby it returns something from the object. Okay, so I can change this into a getter, okay, by specifying a get. Then when we use get, okay, you can actually write explicit because you want to return a string. But let's take a look. Okay, as you can see here. Okay, by the way, I noticed last time some of you didn't see this error. Okay, if you want to get this kind of error, okay, you need to install this extension, which is error lens. Okay, I have already installed in my machine error lens. It's a very good extension. Okay, you can get the errors as you writing the code, as you writing your code. Okay, so as you can see, I got error getter must be declared without parameter list. So it's very good one actually. So I need to remove this. Okay, so we as usual that support static type and dynamic type. Here actually we explicitly specify the type is string. I can also actually make it something like the one we are doing here. Okay, this is actually the more convention writing, because you don't have to worry about the type here. Okay, but if you don't write the type, that means you let the compiler to infer for you later on. Okay, so the type basically depends on what you return. Okay, what you put inside your return statement here. Since we are writing here a string, so that means the type is a string. Okay, so this is for the result. We done for the result. Okay, so when we go back here, as you can see, I already create a mixin. Then we want to consume these two classes to students. Okay, so let's go back to the students. Okay, declare here class student. So maybe I can collapse this. Okay, again this one. Okay, So class student is supposed to be class student. Okay, class student. Okay, if you look at the relationship, student is a child class from person. Okay, student is a child class of person. However, we are going to use result to be mixed inside a student. So result actually is not the parent from student. Okay, uh, s- that only support single inheritance. That means you cannot use person comma result, because that one is multiple inheritance. So what I mean here, okay, if you want to do inheritance, okay, is the keyword for inheritance is extends. We extend from person. You might be thinking you want to extend also from result. It doesn't make sense, right? Because for uh, student, yeah, student is a kind of person. However, student is not a kind of result. So it doesn't make sense to uh, to to make result as a parent. But again, that also doesn't support multiple inheritance. Let's say you have another, maybe you are trying to do it something like this, okay, person and worker, right? So maybe a student can be a worker, but it is not supported in that for multiple inheritance. So to solve that kind of use cases, okay, to serve for that kind of use case, so we use mixin. Okay, we use mixin. So how to include mixin by the keyword with result. So basically, what happened behind the scene? What happened behind the scene is uh, uh, a person and result basically a blueprint. They just provide the data structure to be copied by student. So that means if we take a look at the structure here, although student doesn't declare any name or score, later on after we do the inheritance and mix in, student will have, besides the metric number, student will also have name and score. Okay, okay, so but here we got an error, superclass person. This is very cool extension. It gives you feedback on the spot. Okay, doesn't have a zero argument. Okay, so the reason is that because it infer you need to have a zero argument. So how to solve this? In order to solve this, basically you need to provide default value for this guy. Okay, because in this declaration we specify that person must have one parameter. So one way to do here, let's say optional. Okay, one way uh, to solve this is basically uh, uh, specify the default value, but it doesn't solve this. Why? Because this still tell that there must be a parameter. So as you can see here, name optional parameter can start with an underscore. Okay, oh, not this one. I forgot this one. So okay, uh, so the solution for this, actually you can make it as an optional. Okay, again, how optional means in fact I don't have to provide this one. However, if you don't provide the value, it will be a null value. Okay, so the solution for that, just now we got this error, right? This one, because here there is we are trying to use person without parameter, but there is no a constructor that without parameter. Okay? If you are doing this in Java, this is supposed to be looking something like this. You create overloaded constructor. The second constructor is a constructor without parameter. This is supposed to be solving this one. However, as I mentioned just now, overloaded is not supported. And then you might be thinking you want to create a name constructor, but that one still doesn't solve the problem because we are not using name constructor here. Here we are using just regular constructor. The solution for this is this one. Okay, so make the parameter to be optional. Okay, so that means you can use person with name or without any parameter. Okay, by specifying an optional parameter here. So use the square bracket to indicate optional parameter. Okay, we done with that. Okay, what else we need to do with this? Okay, the student, we need to specify the metric number again for simplicity. I'm not going to make the metric number as private. I simply use public. And then okay, now let's define the constructor for student. Okay, so again, constructor name is student. Okay, then let's try to do it in straight away in that style. Okay, I'm not going to show you again in Java and C++ style. Okay, so as if you can recall from your Java and C++, when you define your constructor, what actually you need to do in the constructor, you always want to initialize all the attributes. Okay, all the attributes. So here we have one attribute to be initialized, a metric, and then you also need to initialize the attribute because student, besides metric, it also has the name and result and the score. So in order to initialize the metric number, again we are going to use this shorthand. Okay, then you might be thinking for the name you want to do it something like this one. Okay, however, we get an error because here currently we are working on student, but the compiler doesn't recognize there is a name here. In fact, the name comes from this person. Okay, so how we initialize this person, the name from person? So to initialize this, we can make use of this constructor, or there are several ways actually do this. You do it here inside this, again name equal to whatever. Okay, let's say n, so you have n here. Okay, so n is the name string, and then of course I can use name, something like that. Okay, you can do it something like this, or and then again the same for score. So this, okay, you can recall score comes from result, and then of course you need to have integer s. Okay, this is how you initialize all the attributes. Okay, let me show you how to make it better in terms of that style. Okay, because this one actually has been done by the constructor here. So what we can do, okay, we still need n here. Okay, we still need n. I'm using name. Okay, it's not n. Okay, so this one's supposed to be name. Let's make it more explicit. So why not we put score and then score, make it more clear. Okay, I can take this out. Okay, and then how can I use the constructor from person, because this one actually has been done by person, right? Person constructor. So I can take this out, we can use constructor initializer, which is here. I am going to call person, and then I plug in what the person needs, name. Okay, so what is the name we have in this code? This one. Okay, I plug in here, name. Okay, so is it person? Oh, why I get error here? Let me take a look. Okay, my bad. I was wrong just now. Actually, this one, this is not person. This is actually the one that you use in C++. But in that, use the keyword super. Okay, super will reference will refer to the parent. Then, if you want to refer, let's say just now we are during person.fix. If you want to reference constructor within the same class, we'll replace that with this. Okay, and then you specify the parameter. Okay, but for the score, I'm going to I need to write within or inside the body. Okay, you are going to do something like this. Okay, okay, before we move on, let's take a look here. This is actually the correct I think is a much better style. Okay, okay, I want to highlight some point here regarding, let's say if you have this kind of situation. Okay, this kind of situation, you have multiple list of parameters. This is not the, actually this is not a problem here because we only have 3 parameters. But in order to make it more concise, for if you end up with this kind of situation whereby you have a function or you have a constructor that requires several parameters, so it's a good idea to use name parameter here. Okay, so name parameter, the way you indicate name parameter is by curly braces. So that means later on, if you want to consume student, you can explicitly, okay, write the let's say you write the ABC1, the parameter without enforcing or without following the order. Okay, that one is positional. Okay, positional. This is actually one, at least to myself, actually one major benefit or good syntax in Dart as compared to C++ or Java. I think Java and C++ doesn't have this one. Okay, so you can write the metric number first, or maybe you can write score first. Okay, so this is a very useful syntax. Okay, so here we use name parameters for student. Okay, what else we need to provide for the, yeah, we need to, okay, so I don't use okay, you can ignore this one. You can also actually use private or public. Here I don't have to provide the getter and setter because the method is already a public. Okay, but of course if you follow the convention in OOP, it's a good idea to it's a best practice to implement the concept of data hiding. But just please excuse in this exercise, I try to simplify so we don't have to write as private members for metric number. Then what else? Okay, we need to find this one. Okay, I think this is quite challenging. Last time we need to declare get year of study. So again, year of study is a getter because it's a method that you do some calculation or you do some logic decision inside the function or the method, and then you return something. So in that kind of situation, it is a kind of a getter method. So we are going to write a getter for that. Okay. It is a string because you need the year of study. You need to return like uh, first year, right? First year, second year, third year, fourth year. Okay. But as you can see here, every all the condition here has year at the end. So actually we can simply write, or we can simply ignore the year here. So later on we print year at the printing, but for decision we just need to decide first, second, third, and fourth. Okay, because the year can be uh, a pen later during printing out. Okay, so as you can see, it is a string, right? So you can explicitly string year of study. Again, is a getter, plus dedicated get. So I can actually get rid of this get, and then now let's take a look the logics where you get the okay, like where you get the year of study. Okay, first take a look this one, an example. So basically what we want to achieve here, we know that this is our metric number, assuming this is our metric number. Okay, we want to take this one. Okay, so from here get the intact. I believe I provide the logic, right? In the Yeah, I think I provide the logic how to, yeah, I think I provide the logic how to achieve. Yeah, you can read the logic here, but I will show you from the code. Get intact, year intact, which means 16. But again, this is a string, right? This is also a string because you are getting from string. We need to convert this into integer, and then from here we need to convert into the actual year by adding 2000, make it something like that. And then simply you can get the year of study by getting the current year, and then you minus with this one. Okay, so this is supposed to be 4. After that you need to convert 4 to 4. So this is the final result. If you get 1, then you need to convert it to first. So let's take a look how we achieve that. Okay, so we assume the data is at metric. We already the data here, which is this one. Again, we don't have to worry about the parameter passing here because we are dealing with OOP, not procedural programming. Okay, then how to get the intact? So you can get from metric and use the substring. Okay, we use the substring again. Just use the syntax. Take a look at the you just apply the IntelliSense, and then take a look the manual. Okay, as you can see here, it's supposed to be accepting compulsory is the start index followed by the end index. Okay, so it keep us, I think, an example. This is an example. If you have that length and then you provide 1 and 4, so 1, because it is a 0 index, so that means 1 is starting from A. The last index is 1, 2, 3, 4. So it gives until the third one. Okay, so that means in our case we want to get first and second. So in that case is first, and then we need to provide 2 so that we can get 1 and 6. Okay, 1 and 6. But again, take a look here. It returns a string. Then we need to grab this string. Okay, we need to grab this string. We put inside. Let's say I call it like let's call it S. Okay. Okay. So after that, we need to convert into an integer. How to convert it into integer? Let's say I call it like a year. Okay. Then S, in order to convert in integer, we use integer pass. Okay. And then we pass it, we provide S here. Now we get 16, right? And then we plus with 2000 to make it 2016. Now we have year as 2016. Or actually I can, if I want to be more, I think make it everything in a single line. I don't want to use S. I put here directly. Okay, so it's the same, just a short, make it a single line. Okay, now we done up to this point. Now I'm going to start a year of study. How do I get year of study? The year of study, let's call it var year of study. Okay, simply we can do it hard coded 2000, okay, 2020, and then but if you want to make it more dynamic, meaning that use the system date, you can simply use this object, create an object from that time now, which is the current time, then you only take the year. Okay, so this give us 2020. Okay, so instead of using hard-coded 2020. Okay, now then we're supposed to get that but okay, what else? But we still need to do, we still need to further do some processing here, which is we need to convert. Okay, okay, we need to convert this one into a string. So most likely you might be writing some this is also actually also correct. If year of study equal to, or you might be using switch, right? Equal to 1, then you return first, right? If you 2, you return second. Okay, this is actually otherwise you want to return 4. Okay, this is also you can proceed until 3. This is correct. This is correct, okay. But I will we are going to refactor this, make it more make it shorter. Okay, so I can replace this with using hashing. If you recall, I think for those who are in my class, I always show you this this technique, hashing technique. Okay, the way we do it is basically we plug in, we create an array, a list. Okay, let's call it like years. Okay, I want to call it like years because it is a constant. I use capital letter, and then years is basically Okay, first, second, third, and fourth. Okay, now then I simply return years. Okay, I plug in years, a year of study. However, years of study is starting from 1, right? But we are using array here, or list. List is 0 base index. That's why here we need to minus 1. Okay, so as you can see here, this is basically serve the same purpose, but we are not explicitly using the if else structure. But the code here is actually is a selection structure, but we are using the hashing technique. Okay, so we're supposed to be uh, are we supposed to be done with this one? Okay, uh, we can do it. As you can see, we can do it. Then yeah, so I can get rid of this hashing technique. And as you can see here, it returns a string because yes is a string. Okay, so we only plug in one value here, one index, and then it gives us with assumption the year of study always between 1 to 4. Okay, because assuming that the input is correct, the user input is the metric number is correct, so that means you don't have 5th year and so on. Okay, now we done with the class student. Now let's take a look for the remaining remaining part, which is I think let's test out our student before we start write the next task. Let's create a student. Okay, I'm going to use the first this one. Okay, the first user. So let's try out. I'm going to call it person P, and then it's not person but a student. Then student, as you can see, what we have is student. Okay, so this student you need to okay, by the way, in order to get what option you have for this, then you simply press Ctrl space bar. So this gives you suggestion what things that you can do after this. So let's say I want to specify the name. The name is, let's say we call this one. I put here, and then metric number I put here, and 57, whatever is the score. 57. Okay, this is actually just to make sure what we did just now, everything is correct. So let's try out. So print s dot what you want, what we want to print here. Let's try print s, and then print as I think we need to check the grade. What else? And also, okay, the grade, also the year of study. Okay, year of study, to make sure it is correct. Okay, and then I will need to run. I will need to run this. and take a look what we have. Yeah, instead of student, then we have grade D. Is that correct? Grade D 57. 57. Where is it? 57 grade D. And then fourth year. So suppose we getting the correct correct output. So suppose our class definition is correct. Okay, so I close this. Now let's continue. Okay, I can get rid of this. Let's continue. Now I think some of you not really understood regarding task number 2. Store the input data into in a multi-line string. Okay, so you familiar the concept of string. So let's say if I want to store I want to store I want to store this as a string. Okay, so you are going to do it something like string, let's say string 1. Okay, so if you do this in Java or C++, let's say if you want to store 2 names, but you want to put it into a single string, which is a multi-line string. Okay, okay, let me take another student. I think instead of using a metric number and so on, let's take only the name. Okay, just to show you the concept of multi-line. So how you do it? If you want to add another student, okay, so you add this one with another student. So what happened basically, you merge Mario Max and what is this, PT Crucial. So they become something like S1 now is this one. It is a okay, you merge 2 names in a single string. So if you want to make it this one into a separate line, yeah, normally you simply write /n in front. So this becomes /n here, but you don't see /n. When you print out, what you see is basically looks like this one. You have Mario Max and Peter Crucial in 2 lines, but these 2 lines are stored in a single variable S1. Okay, so this is what I call multi-line string. It's a single string. However, the string consists a list of data, a list of lines, and each line is separated by slash or backward /n, new line. Okay, so I believe in C++, this is the only way you can do it. There is no concept of multi-lines there is no operator you can create multiple lines for a single string. Okay, some other language in Perl, this here dot string. Okay, it is called here dot string. But so how we create multiple lines, like how we do it this in Dart. Okay, we want to create 2 lines of names but in a single string. Okay, the way we do it in Dart is basically use this. Okay, open and closing. Okay, you need to do it something like this. Okay, you put so whatever you put here, okay, the data is stored as is. Okay, but you need to open with a triple apostrophe. Okay, you can use single quote or double quote. If you're using double quote here, again it must be triple, but you also need to use the closing with triple. Okay, and then so whatever you put here, that basically is the actual content stored by the string. So that means, okay, let's take a look here. I don't have to put /n because actually there is a hidden /n at the end here. Okay, again, there is on another /n here. And then if you, maybe you might be thinking, okay, let's say you do it something like this, and then you try to put here, something like that. So basically, this is also stored as a space in front. Okay, in front of my X, you have spaces here. If I press tab, there is a /t, \t here. So in this case, we need to store it something like this one. Okay, and then the closing you need to put here. Why? Otherwise, for the last item, there is another empty line at the end. Okay? In order to avoid that, you put your closing at the end right after the last line. Okay, so this is basically how we store multiple lines. So this string, okay, these two names are stored in a single string. Okay, this is actually the common data you get when your application talks to the web. Okay, when you go to web, the web will give you a string. So it's your application job, it's your code, it's your job to inside your code to split this string into certain data structure. That's the reason actually why I show you in this exercise. Okay, why I purposely put this as part of, because later on you are keep dealing with string from, like later on you are learning JSON, so you need to process string. Okay, so let's complete this task. Store the input data. Okay, and again, I think I need to copy in this case. Okay, let's call this, I'm going to call my variable, make it more concise, call it text or paragraph, and then I'm going to put something like this. As you can see here, this is more explicit, very clear. So not only our data, not only lines, a list of lines, we also have a list of columns or a list of fields for each line, whereby the field consists of name, metric number, and the score. So I just copy uh, the data we have. Okay, okay, and make sure you want to write the data at the beginning of column here. Otherwise, you also include space in your data. So that means you have put something like this to make it, I think you want, let's say you want to indent it, right? Something like that. So actually your name, the name also has a space here. So in order to avoid that, so make sure you put, okay, at the beginning of column, the first column. Okay, now we're done with that. This is actually the data. So you can double check this by printing text.getLength. What you have is actually a number of characters. I believe it also include the /n. Okay, so okay, let's move on to the next task. Now let's pretend this is actually this is actually a use case. You get data from somewhere else, normally from the web. Okay, you get string, but then your job is actually to pre-process the data before you can plug in to your, let's say, to your method and so on. Okay, because in your method, like here, we are actually going to use this in person, right? No, sorry, in student. In student, however, student, it requires string for matrix, string for name, and integer for score. So we need to do some pre-processing, okay, to the raw data we get from outside, assuming, let's pretend this is from the outside our application. Okay, so now what we want to do, first of all, we need to, I think let's take a look what we get if we print out text. Print text dot length. Okay, what we have, if we print text dot length, okay, so we're supposed to get this one, 331. That means the number of characters for this string, because all this data are stored in a single string. Okay, now, so the pre-processing that we need to do here is very clear actually, because actually in fact what we want to achieve from here, we want to get individual name, metric number, and score. First of all, in order to do that, we split this into rows. So currently what we have is a single line of string, okay, a single variable of string, but it consists of multi lines. We want to split the string into a list of string. Okay, so again, what we can do is, our data is from text. Then, as you can see here, we can invoke the split. So let's take a look what split give us. You need to provide pattern. Okay, pattern here is basically regular expression. So I'm not going to talk about regular expression here. So but to give you a context, a regular expression is basically a string. Is a string, a pattern of string. So, but in our case, we don't use that pattern. What we have only character here. So I just throw out the keyword here. If you want to know, you go this regex. Okay. I assume actually you learn this from web programming. You're supposed to be learning this from web programming. Regex, regular expression. So basically, what we want to split is, okay, we want to split this string. So what is the pattern from here? In order to split is, we can split by looking at, because at the end of each string there is a new line. So we split that with new line. And then the split will return a list. Okay. Then we store that into, let's call it, I want to call it this as lines. And I'm using plural here to indicate this is a list of lines. Okay, we're done with that, and then we can actually test this out. Lines.length. Okay. What we have, we're supposed to be getting 13 because there is a 13 rows. Okay, so now we have 13 items, and each item is a string. Okay, a single line string. Okay, now we're done with that. Then task number 4, we want to convert the list of student, the list of string here, and make it an object. Okay, a list of object. Currently what we have is currently we have this is a list of strings, okay, but we want to convert this into a list of objects. Okay, okay, before we do that, let's take a look how we actually uh, how we how are we actually going to do that. Okay, let's take a look. Let's take this one as an example. Basically what we want to achieve is we do processing, okay, like this one. We are going to tag this and make it as the, okay, because later on we are actually try to create an object of student. Okay, this will go to the name, and this one will go to the metric number, and this will go to the score. But make sure we also need to convert this into integer, because the data we get from the string is a string. 53 currently is a string. We need to pass it into integer later. Okay, let's take a look. This is for a single uh, uh, line. Okay, I think it's better if I show you. I think the common way you might be doing in Java and or C++. Okay, first of all, you are going to do it something like this. For I equal to 0, I less than lines length, okay, 13, and I plus plus, right? Okay, now then I can grab the line. A line actually is the string, so the line is basically the lines I. Okay, so if I equal to 1, that means, okay, let's take a look. So this one, okay, line here, actually this an example, this one, line, this one. Okay, now we need to split this, right? We split this, okay, from line, okay, from line, then we split. But how to split? Okay, by using comma, right? Because all the fields are split into commas. They are separated with comma. Okay, so that means, again, we will get another list, another array. So I'm going to store that in, maybe I call it like fields. Yeah, I'm using plural here because this is a list. Okay, so that means field 0 is, so name is inside field 0. Okay, name is field 0. The metric number, I think let's make this step by step. Okay, field 0 is the name, and then what else? And then this is the field 1 is the metric, and score is field 2, right? But you need to pass this because fields 2 is a string. Okay, they are strings, so you need to pass the integer. Okay, once you get that, then now we can start creating an object. Let's call it like student. Okay, student equal to, let's say student is student, and then I start plugging name is name. Okay, okay, again, hopefully you don't get confused with this. So basically that knows which is which. Okay, the first, the right, the left side, this is actually the parameters name, but the right side is the value, which means this name actually this one. Okay, but this name is the parameter we specify here. This one, okay? Parameter for the constructor. So if you don't want to get confused, you might be change this into n. So if I change this to n, so this is supposed to be n. Okay. Now and then the metric number is metric. What else? I have score. Score is score. Okay. This is only create an object, but our purpose, our goal is to create a list. Okay. So that means you need to add this into a list. Okay. So how to do that? Here you need, okay, again, just a reminder, this is actually not the final solution, because what I'm currently showing you here is the way you might be doing in Java and C++. So I need to have a list here. Let's call it something like students list. Okay, something like that. Then I can simply students, okay, let's call this stud to, this is the list, then add, then stud. That's it, right? You create, okay, where is the, it is the, yeah, this is correct. We create, as you can see, this is, we create with a traditional loop. Okay, this is if you can recall, this is what we call imperative style. Imperative style. Okay. This is the one you familiar, we are, I think every one of us familiar in procedural programming and OOP. Okay, so imperative style. Okay, in imperative style, you clearly see how the things is done. Okay, you see the loop here clearly, explicitly. You write clear explicitly the loop, then everything. Okay, but I think you get my point regarding the logic here. Okay, what we are doing here. Okay, so basically you split all the fields and then use the fields to create an object by passing them to the constructor. Now let me turn this into different way. Okay, I think the one that you want to use in that. Okay, we are going to write like functional programming or FP style. Okay, most of the time you will see you want to use FP uh, rather than using the imperative style, like OOP style, something like that. Okay, let me show you. I think in my instruction, I have provided the instruction so that uh, you write that part. Which task is that? I think we are in task 4. We are in task 4. Yeah, this one. Yeah, use high order. Okay, high order is actually one of the feature in functional programming. Okay, use high order rather than traditional loop. Okay, traditional loop is basically imperative approach. Okay, let's take a look. In this case, you can use there are many high orders. You can use for each. Okay, uh, but for this use case, right, map is a better candidate. Okay, so if you use for each, basically yeah, you can use for each this one, but there are some parts here. What for each can give you, actually you just hide the the loop. You don't see the loop, but you still need to do this one, creating an object inside the loop. Okay, creating an object and then creating the list inside the loop. Okay, so Yeah, I can show you actually how to use for each for this one, but I think it will take some minutes in this video, so I don't want to do that. So I just want to give you the, I think, the better solution for this. Map is actually a better candidate for this part. Okay, we already, okay, split now. So let's do this. Okay, what basically map is doing actually convert uh you map, I mean you do conversion a list from one list to another list. So to give you an example here, let's say we have let me take a look. Let's say we have the list. Let's say we have a list of one A, B, C, right? Okay, that means if you declare something like list one, you have A, B, and C. Okay, so what what map does for us is basically to create another list by mapping the existing list. So for example, maybe from here I want to create another list which is list 2, but this list 2 actually is derived from list 1. Okay, so for example, let's say I want to convert everything into uppercase. Okay, something like that. Or maybe beside converting to uppercase, I want to add some prefix like letter A, letter B, letter C. Okay, this is yeah, there are many high order method in a list. Okay, for this case actually this is the map is a better candidate because the behavior of map is basically converting the existing list to another list, but as you can see here the number of items is the same. Okay, for each basically is just iterate all the list without do the conversion. So I hope you can see my point here why actually map is a better candidate here, because in our case our existing list is this list of string, which is we have 13 lists, but we want the output a list of objects. The item is different, however the number of lists is still the same, which is 13 lists. So that's why we want to use map. Okay, so let's get rid of this. So how to use map? So we need, this is our existing list, the input list, and then we map it. As you can see here, again, as you see here, now we are start using a high order method. High order method is a method that accepts another function. Okay, so it accept here a parameter, but this parameter is basically a function. It's not regular data. So okay, I think it's better for me to show you in a more concise way. So of course it is actually better to write inside here. Okay, but I can also actually write outside, make it explicit function. So as you can see, this actually we are trying to do the same thing here. Okay, the same what we did just now using the traditional loop. As you can see here in our traditional loop, the signature of this solution, you must have a loop because you need to iterate all the items, 13 items, 13 string, and then for each iteration you will be doing split and then create an object, right? By using the high order method map, we don't see this loop. because that loop has been done by the map. What we need to achieve only the process for each item, which is the body of the loop. Okay, and then this body of the loop, you will be putting it in a function. We call it, and that function will be passed to high order method. So that means it will be treated as a regular data, because you can pass to a function. So now let me create that function. I can actually simply, okay, but we need to make sure how the signature for the function. Okay, later on actually I need to do it something like this. Let's say we call it process. What we want to process line. Okay, process line is basically a function. Okay, we need to define it later. So, but how to define this? So take a look the documentation. As you can see here, that function must be a function that accepts string. Okay, why? Because lines is a string, a line of string. So that's why this function must accept a string. Okay. Okay, a string here. Let me open it again. Oh, come on. Oh. Okay. Function f. And then it returns t, whereby t is basically an iterable. I'm going to talk that later. Okay. So now, but again here, as you can see, I don't write parentheses for process line, because I hope you can recall from my lecture last time, function binding versus function call. Here, what we want to do here is not to call process line to be executed directly, but we want to pass it as parameter, as regular data. Okay, so I need to define the function here. Let's say we call it here, so process line, and then it must be a string. Again, the string is basically the data, because map will be doing the iteration, right? The loop is done by map, so that's why we don't see any loop inside our own code. Then each iteration, this string will be passed to this parameter. Okay, so then we can actually simply copy this. This is the code. Okay, so I can return this. I can uncomment this. Okay, again, I don't have to. Okay, so again, the line is already there. We in imperative style, just now we get each line from the each iteration, right? Something like this. However, in this functional programming style, the line, each line is passed every time the map do the iteration. Okay, so now, so the logic is the same. Every time we iterate a line, then we need to do split, get all the fields, and then once we get that, then now we can simply return student. Okay, so this one we plug in here. Okay, we plug in here now, but as you can see here, the map return as I mentioned just now, because map actually is converting or creating a new list by using an existing list. Okay, there's no list one. We do operation on list one and then create a new list with the same size. So you need to store the list, the output list. So I'm going to store it here. I call it students here. Okay. However, this is actually, as you can see here, lines. This is very important because map, as you can see, map doesn't return straight away a list, but it is an iterable. This is another concept in programming. You have iterated, iterable. What we need actually is student to be a list. Okay, but this one is not a list yet. So as you can see here, map. So the way you want to do it, you need to convert this into, there is a method, make it to list. Okay, so now student is a list of string. Okay, a list of a list of a list of what we are returning inside here. What we return inside process line. See, it returns student. Okay, I can actually simplify this. Instead of creating stud, I simply return. It's the same, right? Okay, something like that. So the rest is the same. So might be, let's say I don't like to use so many lines here, so I already split. So I'm not going to use this one. So we simply use fill 0. Metric is fills 1, and the score, I simply take this, put here. Okay, so that means I no longer need this line, so it becomes something like that. Okay, so we create the function. Okay, we define outside here and then we plug in here. I think I need to it's better for me to clear out this line. Okay, by the way, okay, just for you to recall, earlier on I showed you the solution by using imperative style. Okay, style of writing. This is the one that we familiar from Java and C++. Okay, in the imperative style, you see the details here inside. Okay, but in that, because that comes with so many features that you want to explore. Okay, we are writing in that, well, that kind of use case, or that kind of use case, using the functional programming style. Okay, so something like that. As you can see here, from so many lines, okay, we only have this one line. And again, by convention, normally this kind of use case, we don't write explicit. Let's say, what if I don't want to write explicit? So if I want to write directly, if you can recall the concept of lambda function. Okay, lambda function is not a concept, but a feature. Lambda function actually allows you to write a function directly to the parameter. Okay, without explicitly defining it outside, something like this. This is actually we were defining the function process line outside. So let's say I'm not I don't want to use this, so I basically take this, only I take everything except the name, because lambda function doesn't have name. Remove this and then replace here. I put directly inside. Make sure you are putting inside parentheses. It is inside the parameter. Okay, so now I have my function. I write directly inside the parameter. Okay, so as you can see here, map is converting an existing map into another list, an existing list into another list. So currently initially the list is a list of string. I use the lines, and then we convert into a list of objects. Okay, So we're done with that. Okay, move on to the next task 5. Okay, we are going to print the list of students with their scores, grade, and other info. So let's do that. Okay, again for this, you can do it by normal traditional loop, the for loop. Okay, but I'm not really recommend you to do that approach. In that, it is better to use the high order method. So for this case, you can use the for each. Okay, for each. Let's take a look how to do it in for each. So the header is already there. What we want to do is basically, okay, I hope you can, when I write the code later, you can relate with uh, the for loop. Okay, but once you get used with the high order later on, you don't want to going back to use the for loop. Okay, because it is much better writing in high order method and function programming. Okay, let's do this. So the things that we want to work on is students, right? And then we invoke the for each. Type for each. The for each. Okay, again, for each is not a loop, but for each is a function, okay, or a method. Uh, uh, it is a high order method. As you can see here, take a look the let's take a look what we call that. This is the function header, the function signature. So for each accept another function. Yeah, basically the same as what we did in map, but here as you can see here, it doesn't return anything because the purpose of for each is just for iteration. You don't do any process any return from this function. So we are going to write this. As you can see, this is the function that this function must accept a parameter, and then that parameter is a student. Okay, so however, this is the template given by uh, VS Code, and here it mentions that, oh, the parameter is an element because element is basically an element from the list of student. But if you want to make it more explicit, more clear, it's a good idea to replace this with basically the element is a student, or I can call it like stud. Okay, and then again, if you want to make it, this is an object, but if you want to make it more explicit, further explicit, you also want to provide the type. If you don't provide the type, compiler will infer the type student based on what is the type of each element from the students, which is in our case students is a type of a student object. So okay, so again, from here to here, this is basically a function, a lambda function. We are sending as a parameter here. So I'm not using explicit definition for this function. I write directly here. Okay. Okay, now what we want to do here for each student, actually what we want to do for each student, we want to print out all the information. I just copy that. Okay. In fact, the way you want to do this one, copy this by pressing shift alternate and then move down here. Okay. And then format document, shift alternate F. Okay, I need to replace the name. Where should I get the name? The name comes from student name. Okay, here we are going to use string interpolation. Okay, string interpolation. So format for string interpolation is you put dollar sign and then open curly braces, and you put your expression inside the curly braces. Okay, something like that. And then again for year of study, for year of study we are writing something like this, which is year, do we have, yeah, you have study. Okay, this one will return first, second, or third, then we need to append with year. Okay, what else? The metric number. For metric number, metric, you, to get the auto completion, you just press Control space bar. And then for the score, okay, score. And then for the grade, okay, I think we're done with that. Okay, then as you can see here, there is only one line here. We can use the arrow function shorthand. So instead of using curly braces, I use this one. Then I can get rid of the curly braces. And then, you know, to use what if we convert into the arrow function, something like that, you don't need to have semicolon at the end. Okay, so this is supposed to be our this one. This is our printing. Let's check the printing whether it works correctly or not. Let's try to run this. Okay. Okay, you're supposed to get the result here. Okay, it seems it works. Now we also need to calculate the average score and the average grade. Okay, if you are doing this in imperative style, which is by using the traditional for loop, the calculation for average, you can do it all together in the same loop, because they are looping in the same, they iterate in the same list, right? However, for this one, we want to maintain with the high order function. Okay, so if you look at my here, I think I provide the tips how to achieve that. You can use this one, the for high order method. So far we learned map for each. Then there is another high order, which is for. Okay, let's take a look how to use for. So basically, for and reduce is a kind of descriptive high order. That means from a list of items, it will reduce into it will summarize, okay, into one value. Okay, so for example, to get the sum, I think there is if you're familiar in JavaScript, you have reduce. Okay, so yeah, no, I think reduce is actually in that. Okay, but in this case we are going to use for. Okay, because later you will see the API later, because we want to initialize it. So we are going to use for to do the summation, to total the score. After that, we divide by number of students to get the average. So let's take a look how to do that. Okay, our source input is from students. Okay, students, I can get 4. Okay, let's take a look. See, you see here. Okay, for this problem, actually you might be thinking, okay, why don't we use a radius? Because the radius is the normally the one that you want to use for summarizing lists. Okay, so if you are using reduce, basically, because reduce, last time I think we use reduce in I think in tutorial 2.1, because your data is a list of numbers, and then the summary is also a number. So for that kind of situation, you can simply use reduce, because reduce from list into a scalar value, into a single value, but the type is the same as the type of the item. Okay, if we use reduce for this case, because our item is a student, then when you use reduce, you're supposed to be getting a single student. But in our case, we don't want to get a single student. What we want to get here is a single number, which is the total number of scores. So that's why here we use fall, because as you can see, fall has more generic uh, parameters. So as you can see, T is a template, okay, a generic. So whereby it doesn't specific to the type of the list. So initial value in our case is you initialize sum with 0, and then previous value is basically the sum. Okay, let's call it a sum integer. It is supposed to be an integer. Okay, and element is actually the same, the one that we used just now for each, and also for each, which is this element is a student element from this list. Okay, false will return something. That something is basically what you return from your what you use for the initial value, which is an integer, and the return is basically is, let's call this as I can simply use sum, okay, but you don't get confused. This sum and this sum, they are totally different, because this is actually a different function. Okay, or I might be change this to total, something like that. Okay, let's do this total, and then sum, and then what you want to write here. So for every iteration for each student, what you want to do, so basically, because we want to get the total number, the total scores, right? So every time you sum the existing sum with the current student score, correct? So this is actually, as you can see here, this is what we call function programming, declarative approach. Okay, you don't see the loop here, because the loop has been done by for. We only focus on the one item. The processing is only one item. So for each item, what we do actually, every time we process an item, we add existing sum with the existing item. Okay, something like that. And then finally, we get the result, get the total, and the average score. The average score. Okay, let's take a look the average score. I think instead of using total, let's call it score. Okay, then here I can change this score equal to score to get the average, right? Divide by students.line. Yeah, students.line. This will give us oh this is my bad. Let's do this as a double, or make it okay. Actually, I need we have this error, because this will give a double, but we declare as an integer. But if you can see my spec here, we don't have to have a double, but we can simply use round. Okay, so however this one, this is a double, but we assign to an integer, so we need to convert this into uh, uh, round. We need to round it. Okay, sum. How to do that? I take everything, which is this double value, and then we round it. Okay, that's it. So now round, because round return an integer, so it complies with the type of score. Okay, and then we can start again here. This is round. Okay, again we can use round. This is score. Okay, we can use interpolated string. Okay, something like this. We put, this is the general format of string interpolation. Okay, $, and then followed by curly braces, and you put expression inside here. Okay, but if you have this kind of expression, meaning that the expression is only a variable, okay, without dot or without something like this, okay, it's just literally a variable, you can ignore the curly braces. It's the same. Okay, sort of like a shorthand in here. Okay, now how to get the average grade? Okay, the average grade, as you can see, if you can recall from our code just now, the grade is calculated from a score inside result, right? Inside this class. So we actually, what we want to do next is try how we, instead of creating this logic again, we want to reuse this one, get grade. Okay, of course, one of the solution, you take out this, make it a general function, and then use that function here. But what if, let's say, we remain with this, but we simply use this function. Okay, but there is a problem with this, because this is a mixin, right? Mixin, you cannot create an object from mixin. Okay, as I mentioned just now, mixin is a limited version of class, a version of class with limited features. Okay, one of the limitation is you cannot create an object from it, because in order to use this get grade, you must call from an object. But luckily, result has been mixed in with student. So our tag here is that create a dummy student, and then plug in the score, the average score, and then use that to calculate the grade. So we can do it here. I will do it directly here. Okay. Again, I'm going to write in a single line, in a template string. So first of all, I create a student. I simply call the constructor here, but I just need to supply score, because this is actually, there is no student here. The reason we create a student object, because we simply want to use the get grade from result score. Where do we get the score? This is, again, this is the parameter name, and then we plug in with score. This score is this one, the average score. Okay, now we get an object of student. Then after that, we can manipulate this by invoking the grade, because here we are creating an object. We have an object here. Then from the object, we call the grade. Okay. Okay. I think we pretty much done here. So let's take a look the result. Okay. Yeah, we're supposed to get something like that. I think everything is working. Okay. I think that's it. Okay, uh we solve, or how we write object-oriented programming and some string manipulation with high order function in that programming. Okay, I think that's all. Bye.